Let us pray. Gracious God, may the words of my mouth, may the meditations of our hearts, our minds, even our souls, may they be acceptable, O God, in your sight, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. So, what did you get for Christmas? Will it make you a better person? Will it change your life? Now, a couple of Christmases ago, I received some odd Christmas gifts. One of them was an entire round wheel of Jarlsberg Swiss cheese. That's 24 pounds of cheese. What I learned that Christmas is that it's not a good idea to freeze cheese to try to extend its life. That does not work. This year, I got a hat with reindeer antlers on it as a ring toss game. Now these are fabulous gifts, delicious and fine, but neither is going to change my life. But what will is the trio of gifts the Magi gave Jesus. You remember the gifts of self, soul, and sacrifice. Self, soul, and sacrifice. Of course, that wasn't what was in those little boxes that they had. That was gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But these gifts, in reality, were the gifts for self, soul, and sacrifice. And still today, the wise among us make these trio of gifts a part of their life. And here's one. The first gift, of course, was gold. It was the financial resources to sustain earthly body and life, that of the Holy Family. And that was critical. Have you ever wondered how Mary and Joseph, people of meager means, that were barely able to take that arduous journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem, a journey of 80 miles, suddenly had the resources when the angel came to Joseph, suddenly had the provisions, the food, the camels, to take an epic 300-mile journey across the Sinai Desert into Egypt? A journey which, you may remember, proved to be quite a hardship for Moses and the Israelites when they had to come from Egypt to cross the Sinai to get to the Promised Land, which was Israel. So where in the world did Mary and Joseph get the resources to manage that? And once safely across that desert, how in the world did they sustain themselves for the 2 to 4 years, which scholars say they lived then in Egypt? After all, Joseph and Mary, they were planning for a week-long trip. Maybe 2. He left his carpenter workshop, all his tools, back in Nazareth. He didn't have them when he went to Egypt. So how did they do it? The gold! That's how they did it. The gift of the Magi's gold, no doubt, sustained them on that journey, saved them from the murderous-minded King Herod. The gift of the Magi's gold provided the financial means for them to escape to Egypt and to take care of themselves while in Egypt, and who knows, maybe even thereafter, once they were back in Nazareth. For Jesus was an educated and literate man, something that only the very wealthy, the very privileged ever achieved in his day. It was certainly out of reach of a simple carpenter's son. Perhaps the gold made it possible for Jesus to receive the education that he needed to later challenge the learned elite and fulfill his calling. But as important and as invaluable as the gift of the Magi's gold proved to be in Jesus' life, it was not as valuable as the frankincense. Frankincense. Now, it's hard for us to imagine today, but in the first century, frankincense was more valuable by weight than gold. Frankincense is a sap which is painstakingly collected by making incisions in the bark of the rare boswellia tree. The sap takes months to begin to drip down the tree and then dry enough that they can be scraped off the tree and then steamed down into the essential oils that are then made into incense for religious ceremonies and prayer. As such, frankincense is a gift, a valuable gift that nurtures the soul. It supports the life of the spirit. It's used in religious rites and prayers. It is a reminder of the importance of our connection to God, to all that is holy. Frankincense reminds us that our true purpose is to love God and to love our neighbor as much as we love ourselves and gold. But even more important, even more valuable than either gold and frankincense, believe it or not, is myrrh. Myrrh is harvested in much the same way as frankincense. But according to Pliny the Elder, a contemporary of Jesus, a Roman historian, the value of myrrh was 5 times the value of frankincense, which was more valuable than gold. But myrrh is a strange gift, stranger than a wheel jar's bowl of cheese, to give as a Christmas gift, to give to a newborn. For you see, myrrh was used to anoint the dead before burial. Myrrh, therefore, is a reminder that our time on earth is short. It reminds us of our mortality, that we are but a small part of something much, much bigger than ourselves. The addition of myrrh as a gift expands the golden rule. Not only do we have a spiritual responsibility to love God and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, but we are also called to love those who come after us, those whom we will never know, by giving them gifts of love made through sacrifice that leave a legacy beyond our lives. Mitch Albom, in one of the quotes, which is in the beginning of your bulletin, wrote this. He said, sacrifice is a part of life, and it's supposed to be. It's not something to regret. It's a gift. Sacrifice is a gift. It's something to aspire to. Myrrh reminds us of that truth. It reminds us that sacrifices made out of love are the most valuable thing in this world, in the ancient world and in the modern world. It's more valuable than gold, more valuable than life itself. Jesus showed us that. His ability, our ability, to sacrifice for love, for another's sake, is the only thing our faith tells us can save the world. It's the only thing that has the power to save us. That is why it is so valuable. Gifts for self, for soul, for sacrifice. These were the Magi's Christmas gifts to Jesus, and today there are gifts too, if we have the audacity to open them. But if we have to open all three. We can't open just one. For sacrifice without the love of self only enables abuse. Love of self without love of neighbor, without a willingness to sacrifice for another's well-being, only creates violence and injustice and leaves a legacy not of love, but of loss for future generations. The ability to live and to hold and to balance the Magi's gifts in our lives and in our world of self, soul, and sacrifice, that is what will make us wise. It's the best Christmas present ever. And it will change your life. In an effort to do exactly that today, Epiphany, Three Kings Day, we have three gifts for you. There's one here, there's one on the table, and there's one under the pulpit, which you can't see yet. You just have to trust me. It's there. We have these three gifts. So the most valuable of the Magi's gifts was what? Myrrh. This present represents myrrh. It's the most valuable gift. And so I'm going to open that up. Let's see what it is. I know you're dying to find out what's in here. This is what's in here. And what do you think is in here? Nothing. It is the gift of an empty box. And it's an empty box because this gift is the gift that you have to give. It is the sacrifice that you are willing to make to bring healing into another's life that will leave a legacy of saving grace. Maybe for a neighbor, maybe for somebody not yet born. Only you know what that gift is. Only you know what you are willing to sacrifice. Only you can decide. And so it's an empty box. Put in it what you will. If it is a sacrifice for another's well-being, it will be the most valuable gift. And over the next several days, this box, the larger box, will be on that table in the back. Take one of these empty boxes with you. And during the offering, think about what you have to give. What you are willing to sacrifice for another's well-being. Do that not only during the offering, do that over the next couple of days. And in that same spirit of giving, I now call the deacons forward to take this morning's offering.